Last year, we featured this 2003 Mercedes-Benz CLK 55 AMG. Now, while it's based on the W203 C-Class platform, it was intended to be the E-Class Coupé. Fast forward to today, and this 2019 Mercedes-AMG E53 Coupé is now built on the same platform as the E-Class sedan and wagon. This entry-level AMG is currently the fastest E-Class Coupé available in Canada, but some see it as a fake AMG. But today, we're going to show you why it lives up to those three powerful letters. Now, this isn't a full retrospective on the E-Class Mercedes. We did that a few weeks ago with the W213, comparing it to the W124. So you can watch that if you want to see how those have evolved over 25 years. The gap between this 2003 and this 2019 is a little closer, 16 years, but this was the last E-Class Coupé that had an AMG option for it. They skipped a generation, and now you can get this one. And again, this isn't even the full-out balls-to-the-wall AMG. We'll talk about that more as we go around it, but I want to compare how these two are different, maybe how they're similar, but not really. I mean, even when you look at them, if you think back to the last retrospective we did, the W124 looked kind of similar, maybe in size and a little bit of a heritage look to it, to the new E-Class, but when we compare the CLK, they really do seem very different. Now, this CLK 55 AMG is the C209 chassis code. The E53 is actually a C238 chassis code. It's not the same W213 or a C213. Chassis codes are different for this one. But the CLK 55 uses an M113 5.4 liter V8 engine. It's naturally aspirated, produces 362 horsepower, 376 pound-feet of torque, very similar to the E450 that we featured a few weeks ago. Now, it's supposed to do 0 to 100 kilometers in 5.2 seconds, a respectable number for 2003. Go over here to the E53. It's an M256 straight 6 3-liter engine, produces 450 total horsepower. It has a 21 horsepower EQ boost system that allows the turbo to spool up faster using the electric drive system, as well as 384 pound-feet of torque. So torque is actually close between the two, but there is more power. And this uses 4matic Plus, which is the 4th generation of Mercedes' all-wheel drive system, allowing more power to get to the wheels when you need it, giving the 0 to 100 time down to 4.5 seconds. Now, we'll talk about that more on the road test, but they are pretty different when you think about it that way. But that's the other thing too. The CLK, as we mentioned, was not really the E-Class Coupé, even though that's how it was marketed and it was priced. And obviously it had a 55 AMG series engine in it instead of the 32 that came in the C-Class. But this was built on the C-Class's platform. Even the front end, I know I said on our video on this a year ago that it had the E-Class front end, a little bit more C-Class with the E-Class taillights. The previous generation CLK looked way more like the E-Class, but now this new E-Class is based on the same sedan and wagon. So you have more of a mid-size feel to it. It does feel bigger. You compare the two side by side, it looks a lot bigger as you see them in person. But is it still just as exciting as this CLK? It's a naturally aspirated V8. It means you just get raw power without having to wait for turbo lag or superchargers. And yeah, it's eliminated a little bit with that EQ boost, but it's just something about the reliability of a naturally aspirated engine. Now, I did mention that this was the last generation up until now that you could get an E-Class Coupé as an AMG. This generation finished off as a CLK 63 AMG. You could also get the S as well, but just for fun, we're looking at the CLK on paper at 475 horsepower, 467 pound-feet of torque, and would do 0 to 100 kilometers in 4.6 seconds. So all-wheel drive out of this E-Class does make a big difference. It's part of the reason why it can do it quicker. But still, last coupé that you could get as an AMG, and then you didn't have it for a number of years until this one. And again, it's not maybe a real one for a lot of people, but we'll talk about that. But like we mentioned when it came to the W124, something like this CLK 55 will continue to grow in popularity. The prices for them will continue to go up as people want something that is a little less fuss than the complicated vehicle that you have here on the left side of my person or on the right side of your screen. Having a naturally aspirated V8 with a lot less tech going on means it could be more reliable down the road, and they are cool cars overall. So these will continue to go up in price. If you're able to get your hands on one now, it's a good time to do it. I just don't see this car becoming a future classic the same way this one already is. So now we're going to go into more depth on the E53 Coupe, talk about how it performs, handles, and everything else that you need to know about it if you're in the market for a $101,000 baby AMG. Now, this is the beginning of Mercedes' push towards hybridized vehicles, specifically with the EQ electric branding that they're starting to roll out. That's going to be their range of fully electric vehicles, but they say this uses EQ technology to augment the performance of the engine. Now, unlike the E450 that we featured a couple weeks ago that used a 3-liter V6 bi-turbo, this is a 3-liter straight-six single-turbo with a 48-volt battery and an EQ Boost starter alternator. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Mercedes says that the hybrid function includes boost with 16 kilowatts of output and 250 newton meters of torque. You also have brake force regeneration, shifting of the load point, a glide mode, which allows you to essentially turn off the car's engine and coast along with the electric power, and a seamless auto start-stop system, which you probably wouldn't want to be using on an AMG anyway, but you almost wouldn't realize it's there. It also takes up less space in the engine bay, making more room for emissions components, optimizing weight distribution and what Mercedes can put under the hood. The engine outputs 429 horsepower and 384 pound-feet of torque, but you also get a 21 horsepower boost with that electric booster. It essentially sends power to the turbo, eliminating the turbo lag, so you're looking at about 450 total horsepower out of this engine. Not bad at all. Mixed with the 4matic Plus all-wheel drive system, it actually allows you to divert 100% of the engine's torque to either the front or the rear wheels. Now, this isn't the same that you get on the E63S and E63 AMGs, where you can actually disable the front wheels entirely. It doesn't have that drift mode, but this is the 4th generation of the Mercedes 4matic all-wheel drive system. But before we get into the options and features, let's talk about that straight-six engine. Because of the way that Mercedes has engineered this electric boost system, there is no need for belts or pulleys. All the auxiliary components are electronically driven by that 48-volt battery system, which means there's also no conventional starter motor, and the big boost for those who are looking for performance means that it supplements the turbo with an electric compressor, meaning it can shunt power into the turbo and spool it up faster than the exhaust could, getting rid of as much turbo lag as possible, which is one of the reasons why this is an AMG, because it is quick. Off the line, it's very fast. This is supposed to do 0 to 100 kilometers in 4.5 seconds, and we will test that thanks to the Mercedes-AMG track package on there. It actually has a time recorder for it. Let's go over some of the options that were selected for this press vehicle. Pretty similar to what we saw a couple weeks ago with the E450, but obviously it's a little different because it is a coupe. So for $1,900, we have the AMG driver's package that adds these 20-inch AMG twin 5-spoke alloy rims, the AMG track pace package, which adds tracks. You'd be able to set it up and go on those tracks like Hockenheim or the Nürburgring, and it would actually know where you are and be able to track it and lap it properly. Really awesome stuff there. You also have the AMG Performance exhaust, which you can turn from balanced mode into powerful mode. If you want to wake up and not wake up the entire neighborhood, you put it into balanced, but if you put it in Sport Plus, it will automatically turn it into powerful. Plus, there's a button on the center console to be able to turn it on or off whenever you want. And then you also have the AMG Napa Dynamica steering wheel. Looks really cool. I like the look of it. You can upgrade to a wood version as well if you want to, but this one is just the Dynamica with Napa leather. For $6,200 is the premium package. You get the Burmester audio system, the automatic trunk release with foot activation, keyless go, enhanced heated front seats, heated front armrests, illuminated AMG door sills, multi-contour front seats, ventilated front seats, and the power rear sunshade with heated rear outboard seats. $1,000 for the lighting package, which adds the multi-beam LED headlights that we tested before. Excellent performance out of those, as well as automatic high beam assist. You also have black leather Napa with gray stitching. That's included in the price. There's no change for that. $250 for the metal weave trim. There are a couple of options for wood, but they've gone with this. Not a bad look overall, but I would prefer some color into it. $700 for the comfort package, which adds air, balance, and fragrance, plus the air purifier. $1,500 for the AMG Color HUD. You get tons of information on there, more than you would typically expect from a color head-up display. Works very well. There's a number of different modes and screens you can set up to customize it the way that you want. $2,700 for the Intelligent Drive package. Adds active cruise control, evasion assist, the Pre-Safe Plus system, the route-based speed adaptation for the active cruise control system, and a whole lot of other safety features. There's a lot going on with it. We're not going to go into full detail, but the safety tech on this car is incredible. $650 for the 360-degree camera. Again, I think that should have been included not only on the AMG, but I mean, on one of those packages, you shouldn't have to spend $650 for it. Base MSRP for the E53 AMG Coupe, $86,000 Canadian, pretty much what we paid for our moderately loaded E450 sedan. Add on $15,400 in options, and you're looking at $101,400. So let's take this on the road now. You want to see how it performs, you want to hear how it sounds as well, and I'm telling you, it is a lot of fun. Again, if you want the E-Class Coupé, this is the best you can get in Canada. They do not offer the E63 Coupé. You'd have to get the wagon or the sedan. So this right now is the best that you can get. And if you're curious, it does technically replace the E43 that was only out for about 2 years. So this is now the baby AMG. So let's take it on the road, talk about all that and everything else you need to know about the 2019 Mercedes-AMG E53 4matic Plus Coupé. Okay, we're gonna do the good stuff first. 0 to 100, thank you AMG for having an actual system to allow you to record this information on the car. Cool stuff. So we're gonna get an accurate number, 0 to 100. We've put the car in Sport Plus mode. There's no race mode, there's also no launch control. But if you put your foot on the brake far enough, it actually does hold the brake. So it kind of works like you would normally do a launch, even though it's not gonna hold it once I hit the gas, but whatever, we're gonna do that. It's in sport mode for the ESP system. So let's do it, 0 to 100. Holy. Whoa! Yeah, we're gonna save that 5.04 seconds. And it's not the quickest that it should be able to do, right? We should be able to do 4.5. Now, I'm obviously not a race car driver, and we weren't necessarily holding the brake and going, so maybe. Let's see, maybe we'll try once more, see if we can get a slightly better time. Holy. There we go, much, much better. 4.81 seconds. Now, again, I'm sure I could shave off some time. Maybe if I warmed the car up, the tires were a little warmer. If I had a race car driver who weighed less, you know, obviously there's a ton of factors, but I mean, even 4.8 seconds, really good, especially this car is heavy. If you think back, you should have watched the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio video that we did. That car weighed less than this, and that was a compact SUV. This is a, you know, executive coupe, weighs a little bit more than that. So not bad at all. 4.81, really, really nice for that. So thank you. Awesome that we can see that information here on the computer. Good stuff. If you're in Europe, you can even use the tracks. If you go on Hockenheim, or like I said, Nürburgring, there's a ton of tracks, essentially all the big ones in Europe that you would want to be racing on. The information's in there. So cool stuff. Wish we had some of them here. Not that I'm taking it to a track, obviously, but still, it's always nice to actually be able to use all of the tech that comes with the car. Now let's talk about how it performs and handles on the road. Very similar to what we saw with the E450 sedan. I mean, it handles really well. Ride is nice and smooth, a little bit firmer, obviously, because we're using an AMG suspension setup. Power, though, is what the big difference is. Not that the E450 was slow by any means, but this just takes it to another level. And not like a full balls to the wall Mercedes-AMG experience, but still pretty darn good for what you would want out of it. If you chuck the car into a corner, oh yeah. Oh, sounds great. Sometimes you get just the right amount of blow off and exhaust note from the back, but man, does this thing handle so well. Ooh, I love the sound of that exhaust, man. And that's always going to be the problem if you buy this car. You're always going to have people that are going to say, oh, it's not the 63. And again, you can't really buy that with this. This is the best of the coupe available. But there's always going to be haters out there, no matter what you buy, unless you buy the absolute best. Even if you went out and bought an S63 AMG, there's always going to be the people that are going to say, oh, you couldn't afford the S65. So screw what they think. If you got to buy this, you're going to enjoy it. I'm telling you, if you like the older stuff from Mercedes, I think you're going to like it more. Okay, it's not a V8 engine. It doesn't have that naturally aspirated raw power behind it, but it's still really fun. Man, it just sounds so good. Ooh, so good. Handles incredibly well. And if you want the bigger version of essentially the C-Class, this is it, right? You're not getting the full executive experience. The back seats are functional, but if you want something that's a little bit better, you have more power than, say, the C43 AMG, and you don't want to go to something like the S63, just the budget-wise is crazy, then this is a really good mix. You're right in the middle. I mean, it's an E-Class still, right? It's not necessarily the entry level, not the full, I've got tons of money and I want to show it off either. It's right in the middle of where you want to be if you want a good all-around daily driver. Plus, with the 4matic Plus system, you really can use it year-round. You can use it 365 days out of the year. Not saying that you couldn't with a regular AMG. I mean, the 2011 C63 AMG that we featured, the owner of that used to daily drive that beast all year round here in Quebec. So you can certainly do it. But I mean, you've got the features there. You've got the four-wheel drive with the 4matic Plus. It can divert all the power to the rear wheels if that's what it needs. But with that front power, that's why this can do 0 to 100 so quick. It's getting 100% of the engine power to the four wheels to get you going off the line quicker. I think it'd be really cool to see that CLK 55 AMG and this side by side on the drag, just to see kind of how they are. Because yeah, this one's supposed to be quicker. We saw 4.8, not bad at all. But the CLK, raw power, rear-wheel drive only, still a good mix. Plus, that car, just like this, pillarless windows. You can't get that with pretty much anything else on the market today. S-Class Coupé is one of the other ones that you can do that with. But here's what I like about this engine. I mean, it is a technical masterpiece. The fact that they've put a small electric system in there to remove some of the parts that usually wear down the engine and also take away power from the engine. They've alleviated that with their EQ boost system, but it's seamless. You really wouldn't know it's there. You don't have to worry if the car is in electric mode or not, because it's such a small system, you probably won't even use full electric mode. It's really just, maybe backing up if you have it in eco mode. But the idea is it's in the back of your mind. You don't have to think about it. It just does what it's supposed to do, and you don't have to worry about it. Fuel efficiency is not bad either. We'll talk about that when we wrap up the episode, but we have noticed some pretty decent numbers, and I couldn't do the numbers with the E450. That would have been a good comparison to see what that E450 did in Toronto. Problem is we were not home. We weren't on our test circuit. We were doing different kinds of driving than we normally would, so those numbers wouldn't really matter anyway based on what we're doing here. But the numbers might surprise you in terms of fuel efficiency, even keeping it in sport mode. This reminds me a little bit of the BMW X2 M35i that we did, not because they're similar. Obviously, that was a small little crossover thing. This is a executive car. But they're both cars that people would probably write off because it's not sort of the default when it comes to performance. An X2 is just this weird little runabout. You take the M35i now, you've got something really fun, and people are just going to brush it off again because it's an X2. Same goes for this. People just might not consider it, period, because it's not the 63 series. But man, if you're looking for something, this is the way to go. Having a ton of fun with it. Oh. Incredible. Really incredible. This is way more fun than you might think. Don't knock it until you try it. Since we had this AMG E53 in our studio for a week, we were able to do our normal fuel economy testing, which on our 100 kilometer test loop did 8.8 liters per 100 kilometers, or 26.7 US miles per gallon in sport mode, and 12.4 liters per 100 kilometers, or 19 mpg during our 564 kilometer week, mostly in Sport Plus mode. Overall, what we liked and disliked about the W213 E-Class sedan applies to this E-Class AMG Coupé. The added bonus of that AMG exhaust and EQ boost straight 6 engine helped to make this vehicle even more enjoyable and, in my opinion, worthy of that AMG badge. Now, it likely won't become the same future classic in the same way the 2003 CLK 55 AMG is that we highlighted at the start of this episode, but I expect Mercedes won't have any problem selling them, considering how popular the 43 Series AMG vehicles are with the C-Class and GLC.